Okay.
Welcome back to Packernet. JJ Lahey, Jake Schyvinck, and Jim, I guess. Howdy, Jim. I don't know, man. I think they should not let us customize our on-screen names every week, because if somebody's tuning in for the second or third time, they're gonna get confused. Jim, I think that guy's name was Jim. Speaking of confusing and just crazy, did you guys hear about this Matt Canada burner account?
Yes.
No.
Okay, I'm glad one of you hasn't, because
Fill
now I
me
can
in.
explain it. If you both said yeah, then the
Never
audience
mind,
would be
move on.
like, dang it. So Matt Canada, apparently, and for anybody who doesn't know, he's the woefully inept offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I love roasting. He's like my new punching bag. I've kind of moved on from the whole Zach Wilson thing, kind of over it. Now that everybody hates Zach Wilson, I'm good. But Matt Canada does not get enough hate. Matthew.canada@steelers.com was used to make a Twitter account at Danny Football 77, and the profile picture is
Danny
just
Football.
the profile picture is a
I gotta
photo
look
of
him
a
up.
Steelers ball cap,
Okay.
and he's just going around. He's the only person on social media on any platform defending Matt Canada, and he's acting like people are morons for not knowing that Matt Canada is not the problem with the Steelers. So he's going around and he's criticizing Kenny Pickett, George Pickens. He's tearing Mike Tomlin a new one. It reminds me, Jim, a couple years ago, a mutual friend of ours named JJ Smith made a burner account for, who was it? I think Ryan Pace. I was trying to convince people that this was a real thing, but this actually is, because it's at Steelers.com is the email address that was used to make this. I just thought that was just like the cherry on top of like the worst
did he get rid of
offense
that?
in football. Are you able to visit it? It's at Danny Football 77. Is it still up?
7-7.
I bet it's still up.
There's screenshots all over of the tweets.
Oh yeah. I got it now. 1,747 followers for this random dude.
You know he didn't have that many followers this
Right.
morning before the article got posted on Daily Snark.
It comes up as a suggested search now. That's how much people. Oh, you must be looking for this.
Yeah.
He has no actual tweets. He just has replies, and every one of them is like defending Matt Canada or crapping on Mike Tomlin or pointing out how it's actually Kenny Pickett and George Pickens who are the problem here. So this is one of my favorite ones. Somebody tweeted, "Buckle up for this one. Since 2021, the Steelers have had more first quarter drives and in turnovers than they have had and in touchdowns. They're the only team in the league with such a stat." And Danny Football 77 replies with laughing emojis and said, "Oh, is Canada the one turning the ball over too?"
I see Jared says, "No way I'm giving up on Pickett. Get the kid an offensive line and a better offensive coordinator." And then Danny Football 77 says, "So the O-line is an excuse for Kenny's struggles, but the OC is expected to turn water into wine? Makes sense."
Look, I understand.
So
Matt's
apparently his quarterback sucks,
frustration.
according to him.
Oh no, there's a really good one. He goes, "Oh yes, I watched Pittsburgh's offense dominate in Oakland, Vegas. Wrong. Do enough in Cleveland. San Fran and Houston are juggernauts that the Steelers met at the wrong time. Now Houston is a juggernaut, according to this account. I mean, that'd be pretty sick in year one if they were with Stroud and all that, but like,
nailed it.
Okay.
Hey, I think that Houston is extremely underrated, but juggernaut there.
They're doing well. They're doing well.
Yeah, they are.
We'll say.
CJ Stroud is like sneaky good for a rookie. Like 0 touchdowns, 300 passing yards per game. Dude's on fire.
Wait, what?
For a rookie.
Do you mean zero interceptions?
I mean,
yeah.
What did I say? Did I say
Touchdowns?
0 touchdowns?
Yeah.
No, 0
like,
interceptions.
well, he sucks.
It's slightly underrated. No touchdowns yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay.
All right.
Matt Canada could elevate me.
So here's what we're going to do. We are going to take just a short, like 25 more minutes, and rip on just some Raiders stuff, some future of the Packers stuff. Everything is in flux, partly because of that stinker against the Lions, and partly because we got a bunch of guys leaving and coming via injury. Elton Jenkins possibly going to be back as early as this Raiders game. I'm guessing that when he was watching that Lions game and watching what was going on there, especially at his left guard spot, he might have gone and, pumped some stuff into his veins. And I don't know. What the heck do we do about this offensive line? Because you have to shuffle things. Because Royce Newman, Josh Myers, and John Runyon in that order do not an interior make. And look, Zach Tom and Rashid Walker, thought they did, okay-ish against the Lions, but it didn't matter because the inside of the pocket was collapsing every single down. Offense just never had a chance. The Raiders stink, but we have to fix something before we go to Vegas. If we're going to get any traction offensively, what the heck do we do? Especially Bakhtiari's not coming back. We know that. He's on IR. So he's going to miss at least the next 4 games. I don't think any of us expect him back, anytime soon at all, even after those 4 games. What are our options?
Well, I don't know that there's a ton of good options aside from just hoping and praying that Elton Jenkins comes back. But I've also been on, it's been my opinion that we to some degree need to disregard the Lions game. That was such a complete anomaly. I think everybody doubled their pressures for the year in that game. I mean, it was one of the worst games that every single one of those players has had. So either the offensive line, all of them completely forgot how to play, or Royce is such a curse, he just makes everybody terrible. I don't know exactly what exactly happened, but I think the most likely scenario is it's just one of those things. We've seen it happen before. Usually it happens in the playoffs against a team like the 49ers, but we've seen it before, and it doesn't mean that the team just suddenly got bad. I mean, we came into that game with a top 3 pass blocking offensive line, and I expect that to be more of what we see moving forward, rather than let's blow it up and go find somebody else. I mean, Royce is a lost cause, but even he was he had, I think, 4 pressures coming into the game. He gave up 5 in that game. So, yeah, I mean, Royce is not the answer. That's an unfortunate pick. But aside from that, I think the answer is Rashid, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, John Runyon, Zach Tom, and they need to figure something out to make sure that whatever disaster took place in that game doesn't happen again, which is the frustrating part about listening to our coaches who go to the podium and say, yeah, man, I don't know. It's freaking crazy. I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. We can't figure out anything, but got to do better.
Tough game out there.
Yeah, rough.
We'll
rough
get them.
thing. This whole football
We'll take
thing.
care of them next time.
We'll get it.
Got to give credit to Team X. They're a great football team.
Yeah, those Lions boys.
This is their second win of the year, whatever. The whole season. But man, that was really just dominant football
Noted
players.
Pass rush specialists over there in Detroit.
Rashid Walker, does he stay at left tackle, or do we fart around with Elton Jenkins at left tackle? The interior has been the problem. I think Elton, 2021 left tackle Elton Jenkins, like that was David Bakhtiari level good. Do we try that again? Like I completely take the crap with him at right tackle in like his first 3 games back after missing a year with an ACL tear. That right tackle experiment was always stupid from the beginning. I don't put any weight on how that went. Do we just keep going with Rashid Walker at left tackle because it's been working and just try and fix the interior? Or do we just say, hey, listen, left tackle is the most important. Elton is our best guy. Put it there and then let the chips fall where they may and try and assemble a hodgepodge interior some other way.
I mean, I think the problem, it would be great if left tackle was really like honed in as like, oh, this is the biggest problem, right? this is the thing that's holding back the offense. I just feel like it's not like I get it. Rashid is pretty much on the track of everybody else in this offensive line room, better pass blocker than run blocker. That's just how they like to grow them in Green Bay, I guess. So to me right now, this interior is just, there's nothing. You're not giving me much. There's no line of scrimmage resetting. Dylan's got nowhere to run. In this game, Love had nowhere to step up in a lot of occasions. Like, I would just hope that Elton can come back and play guard. Just solve one of the three issues right now, and just let Rashid kind of just continue to get reps, because I think if not, I don't think he's necessarily going to be obviously the long-term left tackle, like franchise guy, but this is your number 3. This is your swing tackle, right? Give him some reps, see what you, at the very least, see what you got. Again, I can sit here and say, oh, he's not going to be the guy. We don't know. We think we know, but I think he just needs the reps. I wouldn't really move anybody else around. I get the Tom to center stuff. He's still a little bit, he's a lighter player. I mean, I know he packed on some more weight, but like, you never know. He might get pushed around a little bit too up front. So especially if they're going to continue as well, this is not just straight zone. This is not just, we're running zone the entire time. It's like, it's very clear that LaFleur obviously broke out everything against the Bears, that he's willing to, run gap scheme runs and stuff like that. So where you're going to have to generate some push, and I would just leave tackle alone. I know just not a lot of options at the interior right now. I know, hey, maybe we're tossing Sean Ryan out there. I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't
bad
mess with
Sean Ryan be if he still can't get playing time as of yet.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with what some people are saying. I mean, that's my whole thing is, well, he must not be good enough. But many people have pointed out the Packers' occasional ineptitude in terms of not putting people out there that need to be out there. I mean, they do a good job of drafting and developing, but sometimes they're a little slow in identifying this guy needs to play over that guy. So I wouldn't mind, especially considering how horrifically bad Royce has been, to at least try it. I mean, we did that with what was it? Rashid came out. He was terrible. The next series, they put Yash in. Rashid ended up coming back out, but it's not that hard. You put him out there. If he's a disaster, you pull him and you put Royce back in. At least see what you got. See if he can do anything. See if he can run block or something. At least he can do one of the two things, and Royce can't do either of the two things. I don't see the purpose of even having him on the roster if he can't step up when somebody is playing as bad as they played last week. I mean, you can't pull either of those guards and put him in. That's pretty terrible if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm not totally aligned with the, really quick, Jay. I'm not totally aligned with the plan. I'm just like, we'll figure it out. No change. Right. We got it. We're fine. Like, if this continues, like, there's got to be, I mean, yeah.
I don't buy the obsession with, like, we have to move Zach Tom to center just because. I don't buy that. But the one thing that does make sense to me is we have a lot of options at tackle, just options period, and like no options on the interior. And one thing I would like would be to put Runyon back over at left guard, if at all possible, because he's been basically a disaster at right guard. He's a horrific run blocker. He's pretty much only a pass blocker. That's always been true of Runyon. I think he's by my eyeball test, he's played a lot worse at right guard than he ever did at left guard consistently. And if you can maybe just solidify a few guys and have Runyon in between two guys who are playing well, I think that gives you some options. And I don't think that Josh Myers has been as bad as advertised at center. But if you could have Runyon in between two guys who are both playing well, say maybe Elton and Zach Tom, I don't think he's a liability anymore. And over the last couple of games, he's been almost as big of a liability as Royce. If we could get one of those guard spots cleaned up, still have competent-ish play from tackle, I think you're cooking with something.
Yeah, and my whole thing with the Zach Thomas center is tackle is by far the priority, and to take away from tackle to improve center is moving completely backwards. It's part of the reason why I've been pushing Elton to tackle constantly. Like I want him
Right.
at tackle. I want him at tackle. I want and it's like I get and you know, well, he's a better guard than tackle. I understand, but tackle's so freaking important.
Yeah.
Like I would rather have a subpar guard and a really good tackle than the other way around. We know he's a good if you can be a good tackle, you're a tackle. That's it in my mind. There's no discussion. Like if you
Right.
can play tackle, you're a tackle. So in my mind, it's Zach Tom and Elton Jenkins at tackle. Now, if they don't want to do that, and Rasheed Walker's doing a decent enough job, so I guess I'm okay with it as long as he stays at this level. But if he dips, Elton goes to tackle in my mind, and that's not debatable. Yeah. And so that goes along with the moving Zach Tom to center thing. I understand that there's frustration on the interior, but it's not as important. I'm not giving up. You know, that's where the guys making $30 million a year to kill quarterbacks are. They're over there off the edge.
Yeah.
So no, I that's the number one priority, and we got a guy in Tom, and I think we have a guy in Elton, and if Rasheed can hold it down, great. Otherwise, well, again, that's my priority.
But I just want to throw it out there, and like I am probably lower on this guy than anybody else in, you know, Packers, whatever. But I think Josh Nijman is head and shoulders better than Royce Newman, easily.
Yes.
And I think that I would take Josh over what we've got out of the last, I don't know, 6 to 8 games of John Runyon as well. And I don't think you can put Josh on the interior. He's
right.
That isn't where he can go. At right tackle, I think I'm fine with living with Josh at right tackle compared to some of the other stuff that we have going on the offensive line. No, he's not one of the guys that I would like out there in a perfect world in our starting 5, but we're down to like 2.5 offensive linemen right now. We don't have 5 offensive linemen right now. We have Zach Tom, and we've got like a half a good game from Josh Myers and, you know, serviceable enough play from Rasheed Walker, but we still don't really know if that's a you know, the real deal that's going to last a while, or if like things are going to fall apart. So I don't know, that's where I am.
Yeah. And I think the point about guard being the least important, I do think it's also important to have a really good center, to, you know, be able to take control of really everything, and have everybody running on, you know, with their correct protections and all that, you know, as either a backup to Love or as the main guy. Right. But I think when you have bad guards, it's nice having guys on both sides of those bad guards, to pick up some of the slack. So then I think my question would be is, you know, you have 2 guys in Elton and in Zach Tom who have played center, collegiately. Elton has played center, I think, a few snaps in the NFL now. Is it possible to move Elton to center and live with, you know, some suspect guard play once? It's just if tackle works out with Rasheed or Nijman and you have 3 guys out there, does Elton make more sense on the inside because he's the best there of what you have? Does Myers moving over to guard make more sense?
Well,
I know it's a lot of tweaking,
we don't know if
right?
He can play guard.
Right. So it's a lot of like tweaking that has to happen here.
Yeah.
And like it would just be so much nicer if we were just like, all right, let's just see if Sean Ryan's got it.
Right.
And if he doesn't have it, okay. You know, then it's kind of back to sort of a drawing board. But if you're going to move, if you're thinking about moving Runyon to left guard, then I think, you know, who's playing right there, that creates an issue where it's like, all right, well, if you're going to have the center, then maybe it should be Elton in that scenario. I don't know. There's something has to change.
It would be interesting to, like, a week from now, we're looking back and we're like, oh no, our starting offensive line is Elton, Runyon, Myers, Ryan, Tom, and then you feel fine about it. I mean, like, this is the interesting thing is we are so very much teetering on the edge offensive line wise between like complete disaster and, oh no worries, we have a great offensive line. I mean, 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, there were articles being written and people talking on Twitter, like not Packers people, mainstream NFL people talking on Twitter about, hey, the Packers have third and fourth string tackles that are better than a lot of team starters.
Which is, again, why I don't want to overreact. Like I have spent, with Packernet After Dark, I have spent almost every single day talking to people who are panicking about what are we going to do with this bottom 5 offensive line. And it's like, we cannot get into panic mode and start acting crazy about one week. These things happen. It's like, if Aaron Rodgers goes out and has like a 43 PFF grade, it's like, oh, we got to replace the quarterback. Like, we would call that person a freaking moron. Like, dude, it was a bad day. It happens. Like David Bakhtiari had bad days. I don't know if Devontae ever had bad days, but like Aaron Jones has had horrific days with like 3 fumbles. We don't say like he's a terrible running. This stuff happens.
Hey, there is one guy on Twitter who routinely comes and tells me how terrible Aaron Jones is because he's had a couple of fumbles in the playoffs. This guy, anytime a bad play ever happens that involves Aaron, this dude immediately comes into my mentions like clockwork.
I'm not going to go on my. We're a little short on time today. I'm not going to go on my negative Packer fan rant today.
Wait, here's a rant. Joe Barry.
Here we go.
I thought you said we were keeping this short. There's absolutely no chance now. You've.
Wait, I think I might have lied in my title. I don't think we're getting to the Raiders today.
Yeah, you've opened the can here.
Well, we have to talk about what he said to the media when he was trying to give his answer about the run defense, and he talked about, hey, I went back, I've rewatched all of the run blocking snaps, and he said there's not one specific thing that's not working. And I know it's not like the worst answer in the world, but that was just like the final thing for me of like, dude, you can't come to me and say, yeah, I really don't know why our run blocking is bad. We just need to be better. Like, dude, this is year 3. It was bad before you got here. It got way worse while you've been here. I'm officially, what is this? October 3rd, 2023. I'm officially done with Joe Barry. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And that's always been the answer. Like he doesn't know. He doesn't know. And even for years before this, him and Matt LaFleur, every time they'd always talk about it's the players not executing. We got to execute. It's all about execution. Yeah. So nothing's going to get fixed. You're not going to be able to fix this. If all you're saying is, well, the guys aren't doing it. First of all, I don't buy it. Second of all, it's your job. Why are they not understanding? There's guys all around the league running the same scheme with mid-round players that are running this and executing it. Why are your guys across the board not able to understand this? I don't understand why they don't. And then for you to throw up your hands and go, I don't know, maybe you should suck less, guys. Like, well, that's not really a solution, and it's not inspiring a lot of confidence in me that this is going to. And then he had the audacity to say it's going to get fixed. Like, shut up.
I know.
Not sure what the problem is quite yet.
Matt LaFleur's thing about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. I was like, dude, of all people, you should not be the one saying this. It's been 5 years.
No.
Oh, can't. Well, like, I love Matt LaFleur, but the run defense has always been bad since he's got here.
Yeah.
I can't have you come preaching at me about the definition of insanity. Fire your buddy, and then when you go to replace him, throw your freaking Rolodex in the trash and go hire somebody you don't get beers with.
Right.
Jeez.
Well, and that is unfortunate because the goal should always be to find, ultimately to find the next Matt LaFleur, like the next young, like innovator and really like on the cutting edge kind of guy. And if you're going and finding some guy that's been doing this for 20 years, has never had any success, has never, like, that's not the guy. Joe Barry is not that guy. It's not to say he can't maybe come in and do these things, but he's not the young up and coming guy that's going to be the next cutting edge. He would have done it 15 years ago if he was that guy. So I mean, he's just a guy that's been around that system long enough to be able to, if you gave him a test, he could get all the right answers. But that's different than executing on the fly and reading offenses and game planning and all that stuff. It's very different.
All of us did podcasts in 2021, I'm sure, breaking down the roster of that 0-16 Lions defense and saying, no, see, it probably wasn't Joe Barry's fault. I mean, like,
they were 0-16 for a reason.
He's probably not great, but also he didn't really have any players. Like, we gave him every benefit of the doubt.
Yep.
It's just bad. But I here's my last rant thing. The next person on Twitter who freaks out about like not playing like jam press man coverage, you know, on third and whatever, can cram it. Stop. That's not the issue. The issue is not, oh, they're playing off coverage on third down. Yeah. And guess what? Usually works. That's not the issue.
Yeah.
The issue is everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing about the man coverage thing is like, okay, quarters is pretty much based on matching just in different areas of the field. So it's like eventually most of the quarter stuff is going to turn into man. It just happens to be, matching or pattern matching based on where routes are going. So it's like to be like, all right, you know what? Cover 0, cover 1 all the time. It's like that's just not what happens right now. It's right. Like most and a lot of these successful defenses, people think most of the time because they hear the too high shell and they hear the quarters and stuff, and they think, oh, they're just covering space. They're really not. There are some instances of that happening, but it's mostly about pattern matching now. So a lot of this turns into man at some point. It's just, again, it's principled out. So the whole like play man coverage thing again, nobody who's got prime Darrell Revis hanging out, prime Sherman or other prime man cover corners like Asamoah with the Raiders. Like who has those guys that can go, yeah, we'll just man up. Like it's just it's very rare.
Well, and it's also frustrating because the few times that we do it, we get beat. And you would have thought like people would have seen that and go, okay, I'll stop saying that, but they don't. It's like we man up, and then Jair gets beat by some nobody, and then as soon as we get beat with zone, it's like should have been in man. Like, did you not learn from 8 seconds ago when he just got beaten man coverage? I don't understand. This.
Well, it's like the whole thing when people try and show all these screenshots of like, look, here's Preston Smith playing corner against Justin Jefferson, and I'm like, dude, did he get a touchdown on that play? No. Then it didn't go how you think it went.
Yeah.
If
I'm sure he was covering him on a go route straight down the field, just huffing it down there, just covering him.
Yep.
Like, did Justin Jefferson just turn into an idiot on that play, or did you just look at a screenshot and have a spastic panic attack?
Oh no, actually he's just buzzing to the flat. If you watch the play, like that's where he's supposed to be. That's his assignment. It's like, oh, he's on him. It's like, no. Okay.
It's like, by the way, he's a linebacker. He's not a defensive end.
Yeah, I know. In this game,
he has to play coverage sometimes.
Yeah.
If you don't like the 3-4 defense, tough. That's what we run.
Right, and that's the other thing. They are playing 3-4 with heavy edge rushers.
Well, that's the thing too. Like the modern NFL, like you don't have the 240-pound edge guys anymore. Now they're all 270. So now when they're out in space, it looks really bad. Like when the Badgers do it, or when they did under Jim Leonhard, like that looked pretty dope because inside and outside are like the same guys. They're like 225-pound linebackers that are interchangeable.
Yeah, Zach Bond a couple of years ago, right, dude? Yeah. Where's he playing right now? Linebacker. He's not playing with his hand in the dirt. Like, so it's like, when you have those kind of players, it's easy. But those guys are getting blown off the ball every time. You can't have that. So
we got Drew. We got Drew in the chat talking about we got a bye week, so we got to bring in a new defensive coordinator. I wouldn't hate it. I do kind of hate your other suggestion, Drew, that we have to call Jim Leonhard. No, we're burning Matt LaFleur's Rolodex. We are not letting anybody in Wisconsin hire anybody that they know that the rest of the NFL is not hiring. I'm sorry to you Wisconsinites. The rest of the NFL is not interested in Jim Leonhard. It's a homer hire if the Packers do it. Sorry. There's other guys out there who aren't in the state of Wisconsin. Do you want a Wisconsin guy or do you want a good defense?
Like, he's not even a defensive coordinator right now.
I think he's taking a year off as an analyst because he didn't get the head coach job.
He is a consultant at Illinois right now.
Yeah,
because he doesn't want to be a defensive coordinator. He wants to be a head coach of a Power 5 program, which I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of big on that for a little while, just because obviously the Badgers had a good defense, so I thought it could be kind of interesting and whatever. But I know I did, and I don't even remember exactly the specifics, but I think I did a podcast on it, going through the specifics of how his defense worked. And the more I read through it, I was like, this is not going to work. Like, this is a disaster. This is never going to work here. I don't know if it was because it was so similar to some other stuff we did or what exactly it was, but by the time I got through that, I was like, there's no way. I'm 100% off this. It's just not going to work.
I also am kind of out on almost anybody who's looks good in the Big Ten West, because unless you can take that and go up against other great programs around the country and go dominate Big Ten East teams and go dominate SEC and Pac-12 teams and Big 12 teams.
Yeah.
Just the Big Ten West offense is so bad. All of the Big Ten West defenses rank in like the top tier in all the statistics every single year.
Yep.
Until they go out in the world and play somebody who's not in their division.
Yeah.
Here we go. Mike, by the way, thank you for the $4.99 super chat there. He says Raiders are 32nd in overall offensive DVOA and 32nd in rushing offensive DVOA.
Yeah.
I tweeted earlier, I said I can't wait for the Packers to hold the Raiders to like 115 yards rushing. And then Joe Barry goes to the podium. He's like, he's got his swagger and he's talking about, man, I'm so proud of the effort by these guys. And then, we're just going to ignore the fact that the Raiders are averaging 65 yards rushing per game.
Right.
He's going to get 115 and be like, thinking he's tough stuff.
Told you I'd fix
look,
it.
Jacobs didn't get 200. Told you he wasn't getting to 200.
Bunch of doubters.
Josh Jacobs is one of the best running backs in the league because he was last year. Don't worry about what he's done so far in 2023. Don't worry about it. He was elite last year. So, mission accomplished.
Yep. No, that's true.
Yeah.
And good of Mike trying to get us on topic with the Raiders there.
Yeah, I
appreciate really good.
that.
That was a good job.
Raiders, consider yourself covered.
That's it. That's all. I will say defensively, and he brought up DVOA. I went to look at EPA per play and success rate, and the Raiders, their rush defense is 21st in EPA per play and 21st in success rate. So I mean, this is bottom half of the league stuff here. Their defensive tackles it's a struggle bus. If you watched Jerry Tillery get ejected last week for hitting Herbert out of bounds, he was always a pass rushing defensive tackle. If he's going to play in this one, like this is a guy you run at. Like there should be guys getting blown off the ball. Tyree Wilson has like a microscopic pressure rate right now as a rookie. Like it's all setting up where you should be able to run the ball, and they haven't really successfully so far. This is the one to get back on track.
The Packers are going to win this one. I'm saying it right now. It's number one, it's a get right game for the Packers. Number two, the Packers have been dominating the Raiders for forever. They've beaten them by like 30 points or something over the last like 10 games that they played. It's like a crazy domination. Somebody else pulled the actual numbers and it was impressive. Probably wasn't as cool as the made up numbers I just said, but And the Packers, like across the board, if you look at every metric, you look at PFF grades, DVOA, everything, they're a middle of the pack team right now. They're, the Raiders are horrific. The Packers are decent. True. The Packers, until they get better, they are going to really struggle against top tier teams. Yeah. I think they clearly have the talent to get better and become a top tier team. They're just not playing like it right now. You can blame injuries. You can blame, being young, you can blame coaching stuff, but they'll get on track at some point probably, and they certainly have the talent to do so. But they are going to win against the Raiders, and then you got a nice bye week to relax. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun next week. Probably some more opportunities to laugh at NFC North teams. By the way, I'm kind of thinking that the Cowboys might beat the 49ers, and as much as I hate the Cowboys, I would not hate to see that. So had to see how that game goes.
There won't be a soul picking the Cowboys in that game. Almost guaranteed. On the
there's
national
two.
stage?
There's
No, on the
two
national.
this-
On the
on
no,
this
no, on the
screen.
national. Yeah. Nationally, though, like legitimately, they're like, oh well, the Niners can't lose. They're going. You
Yeah.
know, there's going to be that whole like, oh, can they go 17-0 type of thing?
Right.
One of these weeks,
Either-
someone's going to pick them off, and it should be. I mean, in theory, it should be a top tier NFC team. Like, who's going to do so?
All of the media is going to be right,
Yeah.
or Ryan and I are
And-
going to make a little bit of money this week.
And it's either going to be Dallas pulls off an upset, or it's going to be like Dallas against Arizona, where it's going to be another just implosion game for Dallas, where they just play like crap and the 49ers bring them down to earth and they get beat by 20.
Could be. Yeah.
Those are the two outcomes I see in that game. I don't know how we got on that game, but that's what I see.
Idea. No idea. But yes, as Drew mentioned, Adams is banged up.
Yeah.
He did leave the Charger game, came back in it. How do we feel about containing Devontae Adams, who ripped through the Steelers defense a week and a half ago or so on Sunday night?
It's been a bad couple weeks for ex-Packers. So you got Ryan. What was the thing that Mercedes Lewis did in this past game for the Bears?
Oh yeah,
well,
that was
he had a hold. It was a hold.
Oh yeah.
On like their one really great play that would have won them the game.
Yep.
So he had that hold. Of course, we know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, and then the rest of the Jets or Packers, former Packers, stuck with the Jets.
Yeah.
Corey Linsley got put on
that was
non-football injury with like a heart condition.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
And now Devontae's banged up. It is not a good time to be a Packer or a former Packer right now.
Yeah. Injuries are piling up.
Yeah, they are pretty bad right now.
Somebody check Dan Campbell's kneecap collection. See if he's like got some Packers kneecap voodoo dolls he's been poking. Not sure.
I mean, it's possible. I wouldn't rule anything out right now with all the injuries. So, I think there's two guys. I think Adams will probably be effective, but there's two guys. It's Adams and it's Max Crosby.
Exactly.
That's it. Just
Trayvon Moehrig is
Merrick's pretty
pretty
solid player. Yeah, that's true. But like it shouldn't be. It's not a tall order here.
No. Well, and even Devontae is not putting up world-beating numbers because the quarterback and the offensive play is so terrible. I mean, his numbers look like Romeo Dobbs' numbers. I mean, to be honest, I mean they're comparable. So
yeah,
and it's not because Dobbs is anywhere near Devontae's caliber. It's just the quarterback play in the offense is so pedestrian that he just hasn't been as effective. So, I mean, he's not going to be fun. It's going to suck to watch him play for another team against us. But it's just a bad football team. That's all there is to it.
Adams is definitely getting a touchdown.
Yeah, he probably
sure
will.
He will. Yeah.
There's no way that he's not going to get himself a touchdown in this
against
game.
the Packers. Yeah,
there's your bet, people. Devontae Adams anytime touchdown bet.
Yeah.
There you go.
I wonder what that's at. We should check that.
I don't know.
It's usually the anytime touchdowns are usually at least like plus 500. Like even for like McCaffrey. Like it's usually.
Did you see what somebody put up? Like if you had bet McCaffrey 4 touchdowns.
No,
it was like plus
I'm sure
500 and some odd thousand or something. Like it could have paid off. I think it was actually in the millions. I mean, it was ridiculous. I had to read it a couple times. Like if you had put down a $10 bet, you would have won like $5 million or something.
You would have won almost as many dollars as there have been babies born since Chicago's last win.
Exactly.
Hey, we'll take a peek at that Rashawn Gary over/under sack total this week as well. Obviously, Khalil Mack just had 6. On Sunday against this Raiders offensive line.
And if
Jermaine Illuminor, who's playing right tackle. Yeah.
I might have to look at that.
Right.
If he's a full go, maybe you put some down on like 2 sacks for Rashawn Gary.
Yeah. I was going to put it at probably 1.5 for a sack total. I can't imagine he's leaving with 0 in this game. So I can't imagine.
Just go all in. Just do 4 sacks. See if you can make like 50 grand.
Might as well. See if you can parlay that with a Carl Brooks sack too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just do whatever you can. Like this could be. And this is the part of the thing where I kind of talked about this week 1 too with the Bears. It's kind of like, okay, like trenches, Max Crosby notwithstanding, like this is a giant advantage. Go show them it's a giant advantage, especially defensively. like your defensive line, it was pressure city against Chicago. It better look the same. That means, Wyatt, who has kind of sort of disappeared. There were a few, flashes in that Detroit game, a couple early, where they got him on a little bit of a stunner. They got him a decent matchup against a tackle. But like this should be a Clark game, a Brooks game. Maybe Van Ness gets in the mix as well. Like this should be a game where you dominate the Raiders offensive line and leave them out.
Did you know Wyatt is second on the team in pressures? So
I believe
Gary
he's like number 2 in the
that.
NFL among defensive tackles
I
now.
believe that.
So
his
built out
problem
here.
has been the tackling. The tackling from Devontae has sucked so far.
Yeah.
He's got 35% missed tackle rate. Not as bad as Rashawn Gary's 50% missed tackle rate, but
this is true.
Bigger sample size.
But as far as the pressures, the other thing, Joe Barry, I'm sure, is licking his chops because the fact that they don't run the ball well doesn't mean like, oh yeah, we're going to make sure we take away the run. He's going to say, good, I don't have to worry about it. We're just going to rush the passer every single down. So yeah, the run stopping is probably going to suck, but there's going to be a bunch of sacks and a bunch of pressures in this game.
What happens when a stoppable force meets a movable object? We're about to find out, folks.
It's the wet toilet
That's
paper
exactly
tears.
what it is. When the Raiders decide they're running the ball, can't wait. Get that popcorn ready.
It's just going to be like a rubber ball hitting like a stretched out rubber band. Like they're both just going to bounce the wrong way.
It's just ultimate pillow fight situation here we got going on up front here. When the Raiders run, who wins?
Mike,
Everybody looked away and nobody saw. No. Mike, I set the over under at 1.5. All right, we'll play conservative here.
Mike is stressed out by these Rashawn Gary betting prop bets for Rashawn Gary.
I'm literally over here trying to find a Rashawn Gary prop bet I can put down.
That's. Oh man.
All right. Any parting thoughts from either of you guys here? We got to get out of here.
That's Goose. I don't hate that. That seems about right.
Josh Jacobs is going to go for 176 yards, but the Packers are going to get like 8 sacks.
Every 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7 is going to be a sack.
The Packers are going to sack Jimmy on Josh Jacobs rushing plays.
Yeah. They're going to sack him as he's handing the ball off.
Hey, that is one way. Way.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to plan to stop the run. Get the quarterback before he gives it to the running back.
With Devontae Wyatt's get off, that's not impossible. It's not impossible.
Alrighty, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be right back here next week. Follow us on Twitter at JJ Lahey, at Pack_Daddy, and at Jake NFL Draft to stay up to date on all things Packers or ask us questions. Make sure you're subscribed to Packernet on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening. Until next time, go Pack Go.